I love you. Hello, Couch Potatoes. Thank you so much. This is a very, very special and very important episode today.
Yes, it is.
And we're very happy for you to come and sit down on the couch with us. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leon, he of the blank stare. And yes, this is a very, very special episode. As Greenie has said, we've been doing this for a whole year. Look at that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah. We feel real special about it.
Yeah.
We're really closing in on 100 episodes, which, a lot of people, twice a week, that'll do it to you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, it takes a couple years for them to get to 100 episodes. So we hope you appreciate that out there, the listener. And we hope that we get better each episode we do. And
I think we do. My AC is on. I'm still in a location where my dog can come up and sniff in the microphone. Like the quality's not that great. Like we're on it. But I do think the rapport has gotten better. I think we've gotten much better with just flowing.
Yeah.
Because normally we're so used to just talking and gabbing amongst ourselves.
Right.
That now that we're recording it, it's just completely different because we're trying to be more mindful of what we're doing, trying to stay on track with things, but we both have ADHD and just get lost in tangents.
Definitely.
So it's a normal day conversation, that's perfect. That's how we can just sit around for 5 hours and be like, oh shit, where's the time gone?
Exactly.
But in a show, we gotta be a little more on par, on point. And I think we've gotten a little better at that.
I do too. And another thing about the show is it's something that we always talked about doing to an extent, in one form or another. And this pandemic really did kind of kick our ass into actually doing something.
Right.
And it was a way for us to continue having those conversations that we've always had, but in a productive and creative way. And like you said, it did at first feel much more like a performance. I still feel like I'm performing, but I know how to do it now.
I mean, this is our only environment where we're able to take off our masks and just be who we actually are.
Right.
I, the Green Traveler, you, the Faceless Leon. So many days we just walk around in our human forms to please the government and everybody else.
Noses suck, guys. I mean, mine falls off all the time.
Yeah, we know they're not listening to this podcast. They don't give a damn about us. They would care if our human versions were giving the podcast. But since it's us, nobody's going to believe it. They're just going to let it happen. No. So it's it's stupid. But we've grown a lot.
We have.
We've gone from 0 to about 100 plus listeners, close to 200 listeners, something like that a month.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, I mean, it's not individual listen. It's not individual listeners. That's individual listens.
Yeah, that was our downloads.
But, but it's really nice. It's nice to see the stat go up. Nice to see people tuning in. I don't know. I struggle to listen to podcasts just because I don't really have time to do so.
Right.
So just the fact that people out there are taking the time to tune in, that's amazing to me. It makes me really happy, and I feel the love. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all, Couch Potatoes. Thank you very much. And to celebrate, we thought that some nostalgia was in order. So we're doing a sequel smash. And if you clicked on it, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Space Jams. We'll call the first one a Blackberry Jam because yummy. And then the second one is, I don't know, gooseberry. I've never had
blood
that.
Orange.
Something that's
a blood orange
you
jam.
Thought maybe you'd be into, and then it wasn't so great. That's my review. We can end the episode now.
Marmite.
Yeah.
You're like, I might try it. Or whatever. What's the other? It's not
Vegemite.
Marmite. There's another one. Vegemite. Yeah. Just either of those. I might be interested in that. Toss it on some bread, and you're just like, ooh. Yeah, you guys.
I think I would like it, honestly. I like bitter stuff. But it's probably because I don't, I don't have human taste buds, so.
Right. I tried it when I had a much more limited palate. You know, I'd just come to Earth. I had just been started to be an experimented on. They were starting to give me like a little bit of a broader taste range. Like I'd had chicken and rice before that, and that was about it. And they were like, well, here, try some Vegemite. And like I took a little taste, and I was like, immediately like exploded in my cell, and they had to like scrape me back together. It was horrible.
You could do that too? We never talked about this.
You might have gotten that. They might have like taken that from me and like put it into you.
Oh, that's right. Well, you are much older than I am.
Yeah, they did a lot of like, what can we like? You were their guinea pig. Like, what can we have that he can absorb? Like, what can he just take on?
Yeah,
you're just you're a blank slate all over every day.
And you got to watch me grow up. You're like my space daddy. Let's pretend I didn't say that.
Yeah. Let's pretend you said Space Jam instead.
Jam.
They're they were much nicer. Yesterday we talked about Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad. And I say that like we've already recorded it. We're actually recording this before that. But schedule-wise, this came out just after we talked Suicide Squad. And as you know, because I intend to complain about it on that episode when we do record it, I hate their way of naming that. You know, it makes sense. They're trying to completely usurp the original Suicide Squad. So they were just like, this is The Suicide Squad. And that's fine. I totally get that. But Space Jam was much nicer to us where they went, you know, the original was called Space Jam. We're not going to call this one The Space Jam. No, this is Space Jam, A New Legacy.
Yeah.
So I will give the sequel one credit. Their naming, fine. Yeah. I like that title. Space Jam, A New Legacy. That's good.
Yeah.
But before we shit all over number 2, let's talk number 1. Let's talk the nostalgia of number 1.
Before we take a number 2 on number 2, let's talk about the original Space Daddy, Michael Jordan.
He's the Space Daddy. I'm okay with that. Yeah, he could be Space Daddy.
Michael Jordan, I think, is a surprisingly good actor. He portrays himself very well in this movie.
Right. Yeah, he is very passable for what this film needed to be needed. You know, they didn't need an amazing actor. They just needed Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or some star athlete at the time,
but I think he did a good job. Honestly, all of the
he can make fun of himself pretty well too.
All of the players did a pretty good job, I think. Because even Larry Bird, who wasn't like part of the 5 that get their power stolen. So this is a classic film. Let me talk the plot. That's what I'll do. So Michael Jordan decides he wants to retire from basketball and play baseball. That's what's just happening.
Like he did in real
life. And the Looney Tunes, meanwhile, get invaded by these little tiny aliens, and they said, hey, we're going to take you to Moron Mountain and turn you into our entertainment slaves. And Bugs is like, hey, we can get out of this. We challenge you guys to a basketball game. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Well, we don't know what that is.
Because they're all very tiny aliens, these guys. They are smaller than the Gortians are.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than Tweety, though. And
yeah, a little bit bigger than Tweety.
And they go to Earth, which I guess the Looney Tune land is on Earth. It's really weird. It doesn't need to make sense. It's a bunch of dimensions. Yeah. No. It doesn't need to make sense.
It's like dimensions just smashed into each other.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like same Earth, different dimension, I guess, maybe.
I don't know.
The Looney dimension?
Yeah, you got to go through the Warner Brothers symbol to get there. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they go around these little aliens. They decide to research basketball, and then apparently they have the ability to steal and then possess the abilities of people, but like multiply them too, because you know the Monstars, what they become, are like way bigger than the players that they're representing. It's pretty ridiculous. I love it.
You telling me they're not all 8 and 10 feet tall?
Some of them are 8 feet tall.
One of them definitely in real life is.
So we got Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Muggsy Bogues. I'm sorry, it's people who are big fans out there of basketball are gonna kill me. Larry Johnson and Sean Bradley. They all get their powers taken, and when it happens, that's some of the best bits in the show for me. Is when go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say the reason Michael Jordan isn't is because he is playing baseball at the time. Like I think they're all in the same room or something at the same time, or maybe
it's different games and stuff.
That's right. But they go to actual basketball games though, and Michael's not playing at the time because that's during his baseball career.
And so they even shut down the entire league because they're worried about like some kind of contagious disease that's going on. So the symptoms of this supposed disease is that your game is just gone. But
you don't know how to dribble, basically.
But it's not even like just their game. It's like they have absolutely no coordination. That's how it translates. It's like they can barely walk. And it's just, they all portray it so well in different ways. And I have to commend these athletes on their acting because it's not like...
well, they are natural entertainers. There's a reason a lot of sports stars go into the acting business.
This is true. But if you're gonna... I feel like the biggest trend is with wrestlers, and that's way more a performative art than, say, basketball is. But, you want the crowd to have a good time as an athlete because it fuels your ability to play well.
Yeah, and I feel like you could also credit the director too, because like he's the one who pulled. I don't remember who the director of the original Space Jam is, but like he does a really good job at blending like all of these people who are not actors, and then like making them all work with these animations. Like he does a good job at it. I can't
say I've heard of this director, but his name is Joe Pytka.
Joe Pytka. Yeah, I can't think of his filmography or anything, but like amazing job. Like for a film that again is going to blend live action and animation, he does a really good job at doing that with people who are great actors and people who are athletes who are just stepping into the
celebrity namesake, really. I got to give him credit, like you said, and you got to give these people who they're just like, doing a movie sounds fun. I'm a millionaire. Why not? Give me more money.
Yeah. My agent signed me up for this.
We also got Bill Murray, who his biggest joke throughout the movie is, I could have been in the NBA.
Dude, I love him. Yeah, he's fabulous in this.
Yes, definitely. I feel like somebody wrote this script and like, hey, I wrote Bill Murray into this. Can we get Bill Murray? And Bill Murray read the script and he's like, yes. as long as I get to wear the umbrella hat. Wow.
And like, I love that he also, because so many actors play themselves in this. So I love how he is playing himself. Because he is like acting like this is like the most serious thing ever, but at the same time, like he's still having so much fun with it. Yeah. Like, it's so good. Just like when he finally gets to play, and how serious he gets when he puts like his I can't remember what he. Because again, I watched these when A New Legacy came out, so that was like 2 months ago. So they're both kind of like blurry in my mind. But like, there's this moment where he just puts on a very serious face. He's like, "Oh, I'm in this." It's like, oh God, Bill. Like, it's so funny.
At the end of the movie, I don't think this is a spoiler. He does end up playing for the Looney Tune team for just a moment.
Yeah,
and after the game is over, Jordan congratulates him and says, you do have some skills. Maybe you could play in the NBA. And he's like, no, I'm done. I can't. I'm going to leave on a high note and the first note. And then he walks off with his busted ass knees.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he's great. I love everything Bill does. At least everything that I've seen. I'm sure there's stuff out there that isn't so good. He's been doing it for so long, but he's always good, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, he's in everything too. But then there's also what'd you say his real name was? Wayne Knight?
Wayne Knight, yeah.
Yeah. Newman.
I'm sorry, Wayne Knight. I've seen you in so many other things, but to me, you will always be Newman.
To most of the world, I would say.
At least most of America that grew up in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what happens when you stay on a sitcom for so fucking long.
And we're just going to say that you just did such a good job as Newman that
yeah, it's true.
It's just imprinted on us. But anyway, in this movie, he plays Stan.
He doesn't even play himself.
Yeah, he doesn't play Newman, no. He doesn't play himself.
Doesn't play Newman. He doesn't play himself. Like he's the one odd man out.
Yeah, he plays Stan Podolak, who works for what are they? The Barons, his baseball team. Was that his real baseball team? I don't remember.
Yeah,
in real life, you don't know. Okay.
I honestly can't remember. I obviously I did not follow Michael Jordan's baseball career. Right. So when I was growing up. My brother and I were huge for the Chicago Bulls because of Michael Jordan. They were doing so well. And Scottie Pippen, you had the whole team there that was just amazing. So my brother and I, we gravitated towards the big teams when we were kids. So it's I was a Chicago Bulls fan. I was an Atlanta Braves fan. That's just how it was. We loved the teams who were doing great. Now that I've gotten older, those teams are, not consistently doing great. And I feel like a better fan for it because I'm not just following the one team who's always on top. They have both fallen, and I still stick with them. But back then in the day, Michael Jordan was just fucking all-star. He could do it all. He was the basketball player. So him going into the baseball, and it's funny that he kind of makes fun of himself for doing that in this movie, for going to baseball.
Yes.
But he wanted to try another sport. He wanted to know if he was going to be a master in two things. If it was just basketball, if he could do it all. And he didn't really do that well in baseball, and I didn't follow it whatsoever.
No,
he wasn't the greatest baseball player.
He is the greatest basketball player. I mean, he is one hell of an athlete. Now. I could say he'd be a decent athlete in just about anything he would join. Yeah, but he is the ultimate basketball player. I mean,
but is he now? That's the huge controversy. Is especially with the sequel of Space Jam: A New Legacy, LeBron James comes up, and you gotta bring in the statistics game. Yeah. LeBron's got more rings. He's got better statistics.
But
one on one in their prime, I feel like LeBron would win. I'm just saying.
You think so? One on one.
I think so. Prime. I think one on one. I think so.
I don't know. I feel like back in the day, and I don't follow the sport very much at all, but just the attitude shift over the generations. I feel like the teams back then were more well-rounded and better team players than they are. I feel like there's a lot more cocky personalities nowadays. I know there were personalities back then, but I just feel like that gets in the way more.
Yeah, I think with the growth of media and everything, it makes people more cocky, especially in those kind of sports areas, because they're doing more interviews. They're on camera far more nowadays. So I feel like a lot of them feel that they have to be more, more heated, more active and vocal and everything. And more so flashy. It bruised that ego a little bit. Yeah. And I'm not gonna. I don't follow basketball that much. I'm still a Chicago Bulls fan, but I don't watch basketball. I'll watch baseball, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, basketball was always on in our house, though. My dad is a huge basketball fan. He's a huge baseball fan too, and when it's football season, he watches it. But basketball is his sport. So he always had it on, but he doesn't watch it as much anymore. Now he watches baseball more, even though basketball is his favorite sport. I think it's for that reason. I think that he thought that they played better back in the 90s.
Yeah. And it might be true. Like, I will say that I don't think either Michael Jordan or LeBron would be, near as good without their teams. But another statistic is that, LeBron has gone to multiple teams now and won multiple championships.
He is a fantastic
Michael was
player.
on one. Yeah, so it's up for grabs, and I'm not going to say that you or I are, capable of completely naming one. We are not. This is not the podcast to come to for the sports talk. This is the podcast to come to for the movie talk. And so if we're going solely by the movies, Michael Jordan is the ultimate basketball player.
Definitely. Okay, well, at the time, he was definitely
at the time, definitely
the ultimate basketball player. And
for real.
So let's talk about then some of the Looney Tunes. So I feel like in this one they focus more on Jordan than they do the tunes. They really do.
Yeah, it is more about his story. Yeah.
But at the same time, there's less of his family in this than there is in the sequel of LeBron's family. Mm-hmm. But whatever.
Yeah. Up front, I'll give the sequel credit on that too. I do like their focus on the family more in that than how the original did. But it's tiny little points it's getting.
We'll talk
just tiny little points.
So this one, the Looney Tunes, I think are better though. Definitely as well. I feel like I'm talking about the other movie now, but it's like they forgot how to be funny. Or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of also the story they're going for, and it feels really weird because they're, the new one, A New Legacy, the Looney Tunes are like, they're older, they're kind of being retired from television, they're not really funny anymore, so say the producers are being kind of like abandoned, and so that kind of mirrors how the quality of the script is, because they really aren't that funny anymore, and you're just kind of like, yeah, you guys have outgrown your time, haven't you?
But I gotta tell you, I really had some good laughs because of the tunes and the rewatching this, and I was afraid because it had been several years. Watched it, dozens and dozens of times as a kid, but it still hit. It still hit. And it's some jokes, I know I would not have understood as a kid, for damn sure.
Right.
Like when he comes on and when Bill Murray comes onto the team, I don't remember what the character's name, but the big bad, he's like, I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this movie.
It is a much better, like the comedy of it is just far funnier. Like it's smarter. It lands lighter and more punchier.
Like they were definitely shooting for a kids movie in the second movie, and this one, and I feel like another reason why we're not really talking about the original too much in this review of the original is that everybody knows the original. It's an iconic film.
Right. You've definitely seen it. Like it's got, basically, again, like I haven't seen it in 2 months, but I remember it far more than I remember the sequel.
Right.
And and obviously that's just because I've seen it like 100 times as a kid. Right. But there was a reason I watched it 100 times as a kid.
It holds up.
It's fucking great.
It holds up.
Yeah.
Even like the strange mixed animation that they have to do. Like some of the CGI stuff, it's very early CGI. Like they crumple Michael Jordan into a basketball. And that's really clunky and strange. But it still works. And he acts it very well.
Yeah, and his voice during that too, like how they warp his voice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's just funny all around. And that's how it is that whole movie. They approached, they were again making a kids film, but they were trying to do it in a way that was going to entertain all. Like back in the day, they knew how to make a better kids film because you're not just trying to entertain the kids. Right. You knew the parents were going to have to watch it too.
Well,
and you wanted to make it somewhat entertaining for the parents.
I think that there was that original, like an initial draw just from the concept for parents, like dads. It's like I feel like the 90s people were so into sports, just so into sports. It's died so hard since then.
And they had already grown up with the Looney Tunes themselves, so they were all excited for that.
This is a wonderful mix of two things that I've loved in my life. And you take your kids to that, and yes, you want the parents to enjoy it. And yeah, so should we give our closing statements for Jam, or do you?
Well, I was going to finish my thought on that. Sure. Like you want the parents to enjoy it, and so they did what movies in the 80s and 90s, like the Goonies and what's the Finding Neverland? It's not Finding Neverland. It's the Never-Ending Story.
Right.
Like they tried to make a film that was going to captivate an adult too.
Right.
Whereas this new one, A New Legacy, they kind of just like went about making a kids film and didn't care if parents would care for it.
No, not at all.
They're just like, as long as it gets the kids entertainment, that's all that matters. And I feel like a lot of newer or more modern production companies, that's how they approach kids films. It's like, it doesn't matter if the parents won't like it, as long as the kid laughs. And then the parent will be like, yeah, as long as my kid laughs. And it's like, no, you're going to have to watch this 20 fucking times because your kid's going to want to hear it a lot. At least for the first 10 to 15 times, it should be enjoyable. Right. And after that, yeah, it's going to be bad. Like, no movie can hold up after that.
Closing statements?
Yeah, I'm ready for closing statement with the new one, or with the old one. I mean, I really like the old one. It still holds up after 20 whatever years. If it's been 20 years, I think so.
90.
Yeah, if it came out in the 90s,
96.
It's good. It's funny. They have all the original... Well, I don't know if they have all of the original voice actors, but they got most of them back, at the very least, for the Looney Tunes, that is. And, as you said, all the actors are good, especially the athletes. They perform far funnier than you imagine. And there's a Doctor Who reference, somewhat. It kind of looks like the Fourth Doctor when the monsters are going to the basketball games. Yeah, when the monsters are going to the basketball games, they're dressed up in like a trench coat with a hat and a scarf that looks very similar to the Fourth Doctor's scarf. Yeah, when they're still itty bitty, and so it's just I've always thought of it as a Doctor Who reference. I don't know if it is like an intended Easter egg. I assume it has to be.
I think it is. I think someone in the costume department was just as nerdy as you or I am. And they got their reference. Has to be
somebody at Warner Bros. There's got to be at least one Whovian at Warner Brothers. Yeah. Like it's a statistical it has to be.
It just has.
But I give it 3.5 stars. It's it's still enjoyable and easily rewatchable. Yeah.
I think
like it doesn't have to.
I want to give it a face and a half myself. It's a childhood favorite. I know that there's some flaws to it, but it's also like, it's just really well packaged. It's got a little pretty bow on it. And, if you pull the bow, it blows up like TNT from Acme. It's good shit. I just feel like we didn't talk about the tunes at all, but they were great in it. They really were. There's some really great references with that. Like, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a Men in Black reference or a Pulp Fiction reference, but Yosemite Sam and Elmer Fudd, they whip out pistols and all of a sudden they're in tuxedos.
Yeah.
That shit had me on the floor. And
yeah, it's good stuff.
And I'm sure I laughed at it as a kid too, and I don't think that I would have really caught the reference.
It just looks fun.
Yeah, it just looks fun.
It's just how it happens too. Is hilarious.
Yeah, it's just great. Looney Tunes always been good with music,
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is in Space Jam, it just felt like Looney Tunes. Yeah. They felt like it was a good blend of that show and this new concept with Michael Jordan. Right. Like, they did a good job at it.
They really did. And I feel like there was another Looney. It's not Back in Action. There's another one that I thought was also very good. And then Back in Action, I think, was when they were kind of losing the real feel of that mix between reality and Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever watched another Looney Tunes movie. I'm sure I did. I just don't remember it right off the top of my head. Right. So I feel like that's one of those, like, it's like the Disney movies. I'll watch it and be like, oh yeah, I totally did watch this. But like, as of right now, I've already wiped the slate on that clean.
Let us talk about A New Legacy.
Yeah, something else I'd like to wipe the slate clean on.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have done better. I think if you've watched the episode up to this point, you know that we already think that they could have done way better.
I'd like to give it one more pro. I'm sure I'll give it. I'm sure I'll give it more as we go on. Yeah, but LeBron does do a good job. He is, with what he is given, he performs. Like he's not near as charismatic as Michael Jordan was enough for its predecessor, but for this, like what he's doing with his son, basically just that angle between them, it's enough that it passes. It's not great, but it's good. He does deliver. I can see him continuing to do acting, but it's kind of like Shaquille doing acting. It's like,
sure.
What was Shaquille's movie? Kazam?
Kazam, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, where it's just like, yeah, it's funny. You did enough. It works. It's not great, but it's a passable performance.
Have you heard the weird conspiracy how a lot of people remember that movie being called Shazam and starring
the
Sinbad?
Yeah, I think it's that Mandela. What is it? The Mandela effect? I think it's what they call it.
Yeah.
And then also, like some people remember it as the Berenstein Bears when it's the Berenstain Bears, or maybe it's the opposite of that.
Yeah,
Berenstein.
Yeah, I thought it was Berenstein Bears my whole life, but I think that is really just a pronunciation mistake. I think it's all easily explained away, but like my neighbor, he was like, I'm telling you, man, I watched that movie a lot as a kid, and it was definitely Sinbad.
Yeah, it's the Mandela effect, man. It's weird. Everybody remembers, it's just this mass remembering. It's the Matrix. That's what it really is. That's what it really is. Some of them are Matrix. Some of them are awake.
Oh, or you know what it could be is there's several simulations going on at once within the Matrix, and if something catastrophic happens in one of them, to save the stock, they blend them together.
They just kind of put. Gotcha. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Ooh, we're stumbling upon reality. It's like the ending to Clue, where there's 3 different endings, where they each released they released the movie with 3 different endings. So it's like people walked away. It's like, oh yeah, and then this ending happened. It's like, that's not the ending I saw.
What are you talking about?
That's how it kind of was. Yeah, when they made this simulation that we're currently living in, they put some of us on here with the Sinbad memory and some of us with the Shaquille memory. It's just like, ha ha ha.
Oh man, that Clue movie, man, that is a fantastic movie. We'll have to talk that sometime. Secret review of Clue.
God is actually Loki.
God is.
He's just tricking us all.
That is a fair assessment. So. In this, though, I just wanted to mention, because we did bring up his son, Dom James, who was played by Cedric Joe. He is a primary character in the show, and his relationship with LeBron is the crux of the plot, really.
Yeah, and while his story is very rudimentary and textbook, and what he is given isn't much, I liked what he did. I thought he did a good job too.
Cedric Joe.
Cedric Joe. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it's not impressive acting from a young actor, but he wasn't given a great script to work from. So
I feel like you said, you wanted to give a lot of credit to the director for getting the athletes where they needed to be. Maybe that's a Malcolm D. Lee just was like, okay, they're giving me this project, which we're just going to get it done.
Yeah, I remembered when I watched the movie, I looked up his filmography. I don't remember his filmography, but I remember I wrote down one film that I have seen of Malcolm D. Lee's. Scary Movie 5.
Oh my.
Number 5.
I have not.
Yeah, when they had already failed so hard that it's like, why are you continuing this? 1 was good, 2 was really good, 3 was okay, and then they did 4, and it's like, all right, you guys can stop now. So the fact that they made a 5th one just fucking wows me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it. I think I have, but I don't remember anything about it. And we talked about the writing already with the script. So here's another sad thing about the script. Again, if you see a movie that has a lot of writers, you should be very afraid.
Oh man!
And here's the writers: Jewel Taylor, Tony Rettenmeyer, Keenan Coogler, Terrence Nance, Jesse Gordon, and Celeste Ballard. You see that many writers, you should run away from your movie fucking fast. Because it got passed around so much, and there's so many different jokes that are written in here. Like, unless you have a really good group of writers who are able to, like, maintain cohesive, like, humor, then you're going to get something like this where it feels everything just kind of feels like it's tossed in.
Yeah.
Like, everybody had, like, 2 or 3 jokes that were left in the movie, and none of them really meshed well.
No.
And, it's all a jumble of weird ideas and bad jokes.
Yeah, so, I guess maybe we should talk plot a bit.
Was there one?
Yeah, I mean, really it's just the story between Dom and James, and LeBron, that is. So LeBron really pushes his kids to be athletic because his coach pushed him as a kid, and that's how he is, the best today. And
right.
So he's pushing Dom, but Dom likes basketball, but that's not what he wants to do. He wants to design video games, and he's pretty good at it.
And LeBron even acknowledges that too. Like, LeBron's like, you're really good at video games. Now get out there and play some basketball.
Yeah, if you don't practice, you're not going to be the best. And it's like, it's a classic, your kids don't have to be you storyline, and that's the lesson that LeBron is learning through the thing, which to me I think is like it was a better motivation for this event to happen than the first movie, because the first movie, he just stepped away from basketball. That's it. This one, it's like there's a good family story. At least the attempt at a good family story, I'll say. Because it really does fall flat. Everything about this movie falls flat for me.
Yeah.
I don't really know how long I want to talk about it, but I guess I should mention everything that's going on. So LeBron gets called in to Warner Brothers to talk over an idea that they have, and he brings Dom along because Dom is intrigued on how things work there, I guess. I can't really remember.
Yeah, sure.
And they introduce the executives from Warner Brothers, that is, introduce the Jameses to Al-G Rhythm, who is a computer program designed to take a person's essence isn't the right word, but like it's basically a program to copy a person's personality and appearance so that they can appear in films and stuff like that.
Right.
As they have done with Carrie Fisher and I believe Paul Walker. That last scene with Paul Walker was CGI. I can't recall if we looked that up or not.
At the beach? I can't remember if it was.
Yeah, I think it's just that car scene. I think they shot the beach scene, but the car...
I think... Yeah, the car scene might have been either used footage or CGI.
Yeah, something like that. But anyhow, Al-G Rhythm played by Don Cheadle, which was kind of fun to see. And I guess he does all right in this role. He obviously does great in some other roles. He's
a great actor. Yeah. Here, he definitely felt like it was like, why did my agent sign me on to this?
Right.
Like it definitely seemed like he was trying, but at the same time just masking that trying with like the obvious like, I really don't want to be here, but I am an actor and I'm trying to do this. But there wasn't much heart in it.
Yeah, no, there wasn't, and I felt honestly that way about everybody, even LeBron. Yeah. And LeBron like even has like some after he loosens up about everything and he's trying to learn his lesson. He does some really goofy stuff that like I just felt, I don't know, he's trying to be a Looney Tune, but it didn't really work for me anyways. So Al-G really wants LeBron's personality in his system so that it can be used. And LeBron's like, no, I don't want to do this shit. I'm the only LeBron James. And so Algae Rhythm like makes the program abduct him because apparently, you know, the science is there. You could do that. You can absorb people like Tron into computer games.
Well, they saw the new Jungle, the new Jumanji movies.
Oh yeah.
Where they get sucked into a video game and are like, yeah, let's just do that. I mean, I'm sure Warner Brother owns the property to that too or something. They're just like, yeah, we might as well just do the exact same fucking shit. Like, that's, again, we haven't really gotten into it, but we'll get into it very soon. That is my biggest issue with this is all the Warner Brothers property all over this fucker.
Yeah, it's, you know, the other night I was thinking to myself, you know what would be fun? If they did Smash Brothers, but it was Warner Brothers IP, that would be a lot of fun. And then I was like, oh wait, they did that. It's Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yeah, it's just Space Jam: A New Legacy. Oh my god. Yeah, just put it into a video game format. Let's not waste millions of dollars on a film for this.
I would even play the basketball game that they described if it was Warner Brother characters. That would be kind of funny.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of the basketball game, both Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy have, you know, they end with that epic basketball game where it's like fighting for the, you know, in Space Jam, what are they fighting for?
So either
to get their powers back.
So so if the Looney Tunes win, they get left alone, but also Michael worked it in that the old players get their powers back. If they lose, Michael Jordan, it becomes because he did a little switch around, made a deal, so the Looney Tunes don't have to do that.
Whereas in A New Legacy, if LeBron James and the Looney Tunes lose, like thousands of people lose their identity to this thing. Algae Rhythm just absorbs all of these people who are tuning in.
Yeah. It's absurd.
They put the stakes a little too high for a basketball game.
and if he wins, his family gets to go free and the Looney Tunes don't get abandoned. That's kind of what it is.
And the game of basketball they're playing is the game that LeBron's son designed. Right. You know, it's the video game, but they're playing it for real. Yeah, exactly. And it's, if they had focused more on the video game version, you know, if they had actually like built that up a little better and like explained a lot of it, I think that end game would have been more enjoyable. Right. Like it makes sense when you're watching it, but like it's not compelling. You're just kind of just like, all right,
because
like I get it.
The points don't really matter. It doesn't feel like it's not cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. And like when it's going on, you're just like, okay, fine. And then like the villain has control over everything. Yeah. So like he just utilizes that to make it like completely uneven. You're just like, I don't care.
It's not fun. It really.
Yeah.
I do want to give it a little bit of credit to the Looney Tune aspect of it because some of the bits were really funny. Like, Granny learned how to be a martial artist, and I thought that was pretty good. And there's like this scene where she does some Matrix shit. In fact, that was pretty funny. Also, making Lola Bunny an Amazon, that was pretty good. Like, she legit...
Yeah, and a lot of people...
What?
Yeah. And a lot of people getting mad over her being, like, desexualized.
Yeah,
it's like, her clothes aren't form-fitting. What the fuck is this? I'm like, I don't know if you've ever seen women...
straps aren't falling off. What's going on?
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, first off, calm down, furries. It's okay. Like, a lot of them aren't actual, like... You know, a lot of them are just like pervy old men who watched the original and really liked Lola Bunny's design.
They just really want to fuck that bunny.
But it's just like if I don't know if you've ever seen women's professional basketball, but it's not form-fitting uniforms. No. It's just like men's basketball. Yeah. It's swishy shorts and shirts.
Yeah, so they can play.
And it's just all these people who are complaining about it. I'm like, this is not what you complain about with this film.
No. I like the changes they made to Lola. I will say it. Yes, there was maybe a little bit of a sexual awakening as a child from Lola Bunny, but it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to be that way, or as sexualized as it was. Like they had a little bit in there, that'd be fine, but it's like the whole bit.
Yeah,
that's the whole bit, and she's good at basketball. Now she's
for me,
like
it was
a woman warrior, and it's awesome.
I mean, it still is pretty awesome. I think she's awesome in both films, but like for me, my awakening was Gadget from Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and it was just the nerdy, awesome, smart chick who got him out of everything. Yeah, like I was just like, I love Gadget. Gadget. She knew everything.
Secret review of Chip 'n Dale, not the strip club.
Not the strip club. We can give them a secret review someday too.
What about that skit with Chris Farley? Have you seen that with him and Patrick Swayze?
I'm sure I have. I just don't remember it. But getting back to A New Legacy, we can't. There's two things that there's a lot of things about it that piss me off. Like, but one thing that really pissed me off was there is one moment where they're just like, the whole team's feeling down. They're getting their asses beat in the game. It's like that halftime moment where they need that pep talk, but like, LeBron's not too great at pep talks. He's dealing with his own issue. And they're just like, guys, Michael Jordan's here. He's gonna, we're gonna bring him in. He'll talk to the team. And you're like, oh, this is cool. Are we gonna get this nice little moment between LeBron James and Michael Jordan? Like, again, I'm on the outside of the controversy. Like, I'm just sitting outside. I'm just like, I know everybody in the sports world has had that talk. Who's better between them? And I'm like, this will be cool. This will be a nice little area. Even though this whole movie sucks, it'll be worth it if there's this nice little moment between Michael Jordan and LeBron James where they just like, they both like come up to each other and it's like, you know what? They both say like, you're the best. That'd be pretty cool. I would like that. That'd be a good moment for this movie. No, it's Michael B. Jordan. He walks into the fucking locker room like, why am I here? He's like, why? Did they have me on? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, which Warner Brothers contract is he attached to? Like, I'm like, God damn, poor guy. Like,
or maybe he really thought the bit would be funny. They probably explained the bit before they showed him the script. It's like, hey, we're doing Space Jam, and we want to call you out as Michael Jordan, and then it's you. And then he's like, okay, that's funny.
But I don't know if he would think that is funny because, like, how much of his life has he had to deal with that already?
You're right.
Like, I feel like that'd be a joke that he's like, no, I've already overcome this joke of my childhood. Like, I don't know if his actual name, that could be a stage name, I guess. But, it's, I don't know. It was a joke that really just bothered me because it didn't need to be made. And I was actually excited because I'm like, you know what? I'm really hating this entire movie. If they give me this moment, I won't feel like I've wasted my time. And they didn't give me that moment. And so I felt like I wasted my time. Yeah, it was painful.
I do want to jump back. So we were talking about Lola Bunny. And while we were talking, I did want to mention that I thought Zendaya did a great job as the character.
I think she did a good job, but that's another thing is like, it's not the original voice actors.
Yeah.
And so it feels very off-putting because I've grown up with these characters.
Sure.
And for like 30 to 40 years, they had one voice. And now all of them sounded close, but not right. And especially Bugs Bunny. Like, I can't remember who voiced Bugs Bunny in this. Did a good job.
It's Jeff Bergman. He also did Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, Fred Flintstone, and Yogi Bear.
Yeah, like, he did a good job, but it just wasn't Mel Blanc? Is that the original? I think it's Mel Blanc.
It's Mel, yeah. I don't remember the last name, but there must be, if that's what you got in your head.
Yeah, it's what's in my head. As long as it's not Mel Brooks, I think that's the only one I keep getting them confused with, so. But, like, that his voice was iconic, and, like, he's the only one in my mind who does those voices. And again, not to knock on the people who are doing those voices now, because obviously they still are doing a good job. It's just not my Bugs Bunny. And I hate to make that complaint, but It's just not my Bugs Bunny. And that's how it was with all the voices. It just wasn't my version of it.
I don't want to burst what you're saying because I agree with you. But it was Billy West. in Space Jam.
Yeah, but that's Billy West.
He did a great job. I mean, I love him as
but it's because it's Billy West. He's like the best voice actor there is. So it's like, yeah, he could easily do those voices and make me think it was the original guy. I will let that pass.
I don't know how long Mel Blanc did it, but I'm sure he passed away at some point.
Yeah. But, like, even then, like, I would say that, you know, again, I grew up with Billy West probably because I probably watched Space Jam. Well, no, I watched Looney Tunes far more than I watched Space Jam. But I watched Space Jam a buck ton as a kid.
A lot. It was a lot for us.
Yeah, and this whole, you know, new legacy, you know, I'm ready to go into my closing statement with this fact. And the thing that really bothered me, as I've alluded to so many times, is that it was just a Warner Brothers dump. Like, there was no heart in making this movie. It was kind of like, somebody was like, hey, we should do a Space Jam movie. And they're like, why do we do a Space Jam movie for? Why would we? And it's like, well, we could just do the exact same movie, basically. Just update it for modern times. And
make it flashy.
You know, the heads were like, yeah, I guess we do own that title. And they're like, you know what? Let's go through all of the files of everything we own and make sure that we put in an Easter egg for everything. Let's just touch base on every single property and IP that is underneath the Warner Brothers title and make sure it has like 5 seconds for this film.
Okay.
And it just it pissed me off.
Yeah. There is a lot of heavy references to Harry Potter. And some of them did actually make me giggle. I thought, you know, if they would have killed like a good, 75% of the other references, and that those jokes would have hammered in a little bit better. But we all know that a certain someone got money for that. But that's, you know, whatever.
Right.
But anyhow, like at first, like one of the things that Al-G Rhythm does at the very beginning when they're just introducing the concept to LeBron is show him dressed up like he went to Hogwarts, and he's like, what? And that's like one of the last things, and he decides to leave. And then later on, when they make him a Looney Tune, which I get, that might be a spoiler, but that's one of the few things that I thought was actually decent. And honestly, I thought his voice acting was a little bit better than his in-person acting as well.
Yeah.
Then he got all excited when they talked about Harry Potter again, because they go around recruiting the team. He and Bugs do. And he keeps on being like, we could get Godzilla, we could get all these guys. But Bugs just keeps on convincing him to get other Looney Tunes.
Yeah, until he's got the worst team possible to save thousands and thousands of lives.
That is one of the better bits. I feel like if they would have focused more on that, and less of the flashy style points kind of thing, that it would have made a better movie. I'm going to go ahead and finish off my closing statement by giving it a half a face. It was not a good movie.
Everything they tried to do, like there was things they could have done to make it better, but I mean, even with the Looney Tunes, when they introduced the Looney Tunes, it's like, we don't want to do anything original or new, so we're just going to make sure we cover all of the iconic staples of the Looney Tunes. You know, it's like, we're going to paint a fake wall here and have somebody slam into the wall and have somebody run through it like it's an actual real life thing. And it's just, it all just meshed poorly into this just disgusting puddle. And like, I will agree that, you know, when they turn LeBron into a Looney Tune, you know, his voice acting is better, and that alone, the animation of this movie is good.
Yeah,
I do think the animation, and because it's like an updated version of Looney Tunes animation in a way, like they made it computerized, and it's good.
They do both like a regular 2D animation, and then when the ball game's about to start, they make it into a 3D animation.
That's right. Really that's weird. Right. Yeah, but I thought it worked. Like, it looked really good. Kind of.
I liked how the characters looked, but I feel like they kind of needed to do it all the whole movie. I thought it was a weird switch. It needed to decide what it wanted to do with the animation, because like making him a Looney Tune, that was a good step. I thought that was fun. And then they just reverse it at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just immediate. It's just, yeah, everything about it was just a swing and a miss. Like, you know, there's some good ideas. If they had just done a few Warner Brothers Easter eggs, right. Like, as you said, cut it down by 75% of the Easter eggs and references. Like, take 75% of it out and just leave it as a few very funny gags.
Yeah.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'd be all for that. But no, they just had to keep tossing it at, you know, tossing everything at it. Like,
yeah.
I mentioned before we did this that it was kind of like Ready Player One, where it's like, I don't remember if Ready Player One had a specific company, but it's like in the book, it all makes sense. It is a, you know, a combined universe on the internet that it's just like, of course, all these big characters would be everywhere because people would have the opportunity to be these big characters. So it works great as a book. And then when you translate it to the movie, it just feels like a money grab.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we have to remind people we have this product and we can make money off of it outside of this as merchandise. It felt the very same way with A New Legacy, where it's just like, we're just going to toss everything into this so that we can get our money's worth on this. And then outside of it, we can also make a shit ton of merchandise with other fucking garbage.
Right.
And it bothered me. I give it 1.5 stars. Like it gets I would give it 1 star, but it gets a half star because it's supposed to be for kids.
Right.
So I know that I'm not the audience for this.
No,
so
you're
I give
not.
it 1.5 stars.
Like we said earlier in the review, who cares if it's supposed to be for kids? It needs to be watchable.
Yeah.
It needs to be watchable, for God's sake. So
exactly.
I do, because you gave a secret review of Ready Player One, I do want to give it its credit, in the very least, that it had a plot that was watchable. So
yes.
Well, I think we talked it. And, you know, if people were really hoping that we had good opinions about Space Jam, A New Legacy, I'm sorry. It's not good.
Yeah.
Just turn in, if you're feeling nostalgic, just turn on Space Jam, man. It still
and
holds
if your
up.
kids are wanting to watch, the new Space Jam movies, like, I want to watch Space Jam, just put on the old one and be like, this is the new one.
Yeah.
Aha.
Why is this animation shit, Dad? Don't say
that word. Call me father. Call me Space Daddy.
Call me Space Daddy.
I mean, it's very obvious with the sequel smash that there was no need for a sequel and that the first one wins. Like,
absolutely not.
Yeah, easy opposite of the Suicide Squad, where it's just the complete reverse here, you know. But that's been the show. I am the Green Traveler,
and I am the Faceless Leon. Safe travels, hopefully many years to come, and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.